keep in mind what we just saw of Vladimir Putin and compare it to what we're about to see. Joe Biden saying,
oh God,
we will support Ukraine for as long as it takes. Joe Biden saying we will support Ukraine for as long as we can. Joe Biden saying Putin has lost. Joe Biden saying if Putin wins. Watch all this.
On commitments to Ukraine, long-term security to deter future aggression after this war ends is the goal. And we're advancing this goal by providing them the support Ukraine needs now on the battlefield and helping them strengthen their military over the long term. The fact of the matter is that I believe we'll have the funding necessary to support Ukraine as long as it takes. Putin has failed in his effort to subjugate Ukraine. The brave people of Ukraine have defied Putin's will at every turn. Backed by the strong and unwavering support of the United States and our allies and partners of more than 50 nations in Europe and the Indo-Pacific. And Ukraine will emerge from this war proud, free, and firmly rooted in the West unless we walk away. The American people can be and should be incredibly proud of the part they played in supporting Ukraine's success. We'll continue to supply Ukraine with critical weapons and equipment as long as we can. Russian loyalists in Moscow celebrated when Republicans voted to block Ukraine aid last week. The host of a extreme Republicans are playing chicken with our national security, holding Ukraine's funding hostage to their extreme partisan border policies. If Putin takes Ukraine, he won't stop there. It's important to see the long run here. He's going to keep going. He's made that pretty clear. If Putin attacks a NATO ally, then we'll have something that we don't seek and that we don't have today. American troops fighting Russian troops. American troops fighting Russian troops if he moves into other parts of NATO.
How dangerous to make that threat, but how absurd for him to say, as long as it takes, as long as we can. Putin's already lost. Oh, but if he wins and takes Ukraine, he's going to go into NATO. How discredited is that argument? How ancient is that argument?
Well, I mean, it's just not to focus too much on Biden's character, but this is Joe Biden talking, and we're talking ancient, senile, just completely ridiculous and uncredible Joe Biden talking up there. Everyone who's an honest analyst of this, including some hawks at least, will acknowledge that it didn't have to be this way. That, in fact, the Russians did have legitimate security interests, such as keeping Ukraine out of America's military alliance right on their border.
Right.
And especially in the situation where the Russians had taken Crimea in the aftermath of the American-sponsored coup d'etat and fake revolution, essentially right-wing putsch in the street of 2014. And the Ukrainians, with American support, claimed that, no, it still belongs to us. It's still sovereign Ukrainian territory, and hell or high water, we're going to take it back. And Putin said over and over again, now you keep saying you're going to bring Ukraine into NATO while we have a dispute, in the middle of having a dispute over who owns Crimea. That could lead directly to war. And so you're forcing us into this situation. That was right. The idea that, oh, yeah, no, now he's coming next into Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia, and Finland. And then from there, he's going to go to Poland and Germany. And the next thing you know, he's going to be in Paris and Madrid. I mean, this is all just make-believe. You know, they know good and well that they provoked this war. They wanted it to happen. Or at least they thought, plan B is it happens and we don't mind. We see a great strategic advantage in letting it happen, so why not? As Zbigniew Brzezinski said about the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan in 1979, we knowingly increased the probability that they would. How about that for provoked? Get it? That's how they play the game. And so, you know, and honestly, Judge, I don't know how many Nazis are left because a lot of them have been killed in the war. But America has set up and betrayed a bunch of Hitler-loving Nazis over there, promised them the world, and now are delivering them a humiliating defeat. And, you know, if it's their analogy is Afghanistan, and we got Egyptian Islamic Jihad and Al-Qaeda as the result of the war in Afghanistan turned against the United States, what can we expect to happen when they build up these massive Nazi military forces there? And these are not comparable to the Aryan nation in the woods in Alabama somewhere or something. These are real armed, highly trained, and combat experienced militia forces, highly ideological along the lines of the Banderists who fought with the Nazis during World War II.
Here's the principal spokesperson and fundraiser for those Nazis, President Zelensky, yesterday. Oh, I'll let you listen to what he has to say about World War II and about how Putin hasn't won. 15.
Defending freedom. For nearly 2 years, we have been in a full-scale war, the biggest since World War II. Fighting for freedom. We stand firm, no matter what Putin tries. He hasn't won any victories. Thanks to Ukraine's success in defense, other European nations are safe from the Russian aggression, unlike in the past.
Now, he's standing next to the President of the United States, who, of course, has been all over the place on how long we'll back you up, and has Putin won, and if Putin loses, and when Putin takes Ukraine. But Zelensky is apparently still under the delusion or illusion that he can continue to fight and ultimately triumph in this war.
Well, you know, I don't disdain Zelensky as bad as some do. I know he's corrupt, as virtually any politician or connected businessman in that country is. He's not a great guy, but he's in a very difficult position. And I know that there are a lot of Ukrainians who would rather keep fighting. On the other hand, he's got conscription, that is slavery, the threat of imprisonment for those who refuse to fight. And there are a lot of people who have fled to avoid the fighting there. But you know, it makes sense that he would want support. The question is whether this is good for the United States of America to give him that support based on the potential consequences for us.